We're living and confirming. All right. Excellent. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Friday night. Get your rocks off with... I want to get your rocks off. Houston, we have a problem. I want to do a Get Your Rocks Off with Houston because that's what I've been trying to sell for years. Welcome. Here we go. We're here. We survived another week. Nuclear war hasn't happened yet. Pat on the back to all of you who have not suffered from nuclear war yet. And we've got Virgilio behind me here. He is Rich's cousin. And they want to take me and Monkey Butt on an off-road tour of the Pinatubo caldera in the Philippines post-MOAS, which that sounds awesome. I'm all for it. So, hey, Virgilio, you're hanging over my shoulder today. Again, if you want to have your cousin up on the board, you're welcome to. Just hit me up, send me a DM or whatever on Twitter. Or Rich just straight up put some pictures in the mail and sent it. So I don't have to print anything. So it's color. I actually have a color picture today. So it's fantastic. All right. Yeah, there you go. Okay, we're back and off. 9 shows in a row, no double intro. I don't know what other technical difficulties I'll have, but it won't be a double intro today. 9 shows. We've got it down, baby. Okay. What's happening in the world, Monkey Butt? Well, we've got, it's kind of put in there like, the news is only bad. Bonds are crashing everywhere. It's been almost a week since Japan sold a bond of any kind. No one wants to buy them. U.S. bonds are dumping. Britain has crashed the pound so much that their bonds are worthless. And then they're saying to their pension funds, like, hey, pension funds, you're about to be insolvent. Figure it out. Figure it out with what? Right? Their bonds are worthless. The stock market's worthless. What are they supposed to do? We've sent $9+ billion to Switzerland in swaps to shore up the Swiss central bank because they're losing money like crazy. Australian central bank is losing money. The Swedish central bank is losing money. The American central bank is losing money. The Pledge Protection team is going gangbusters. There was no reason for any green whatsoever yesterday after the announcement of the CPI. And it was like, and then just bounced and went up. Why? What reason of fundamentals would the stock market rise if every single solitary CEO says they're bracing themselves for a recession, the banks say liquidity is running out, interest rates are going sky high, inflation is nuts, nuclear war is on the horizon, real estate is collapsing, like, yeah, let's just invest some more into the SPY. Why not? It's silly. It's absolutely silly. But partly stupid. Is the Plunger Protection Team an actual thing, or is it some Illuminati-esque conspiracy theory for market misbehavior? It's the name given to the portion of the Federal Reserve that buys up securities. So the Federal Reserve, their goal is to not hold any securities. They don't want securities. They want to deal with Federal Reserve notes and bonds and trade those back and forth with banks. But when the stock market was collapsing in March of 2020, they had to jump in and essentially gobble up trillions of dollars in securities. So the central bank right now, the Federal Reserve, is sitting on $8.5 trillion in mortgage-backed securities, stock, corporate bonds, all sorts of things they don't want and they want to sell. But so much bad news keeps coming out that they're afraid if they do sell those securities, it will just push everything into the ground and become like an unrecoverable situation. So they keep saying, "Oh, we're going to sell this stuff off. We're going to sell this stuff off. We're going to sell off $7 trillion worth," and then they don't do it. They did like a couple of peanuts in July, and then I don't think they've touched it since. I think they've been buying up ever since then, adding to the Fed's book on those securities. So that's basically what the plunger protection team is. It's protecting the market from plunging, which it desperately needs to do so that people can finally get it through their head that what's going on is bad. If they keep pumping it up and falsely supporting the run that the SPY has had, it's going to make the collapse that much worse. The election can't come soon enough so they can finally be like, all right, time to unbutton these pants and let everything out. Okay. That's all I talk about top. Ryan Cohen started tweeting again, which, wonder what that's all about. So, yeah. Guitar stuff. What's the one thing you refuse to eat? When we were kids, every child in my family was allowed one non-eat. So we didn't have to eat that one thing. But we could use our siblings' non-eats as well. So my non-eat was cooked spinach. I loathe cooked spinach with every fiber of my being. It is bitter and disgusting. I love raw greens, raw kale, raw cabbage, raw broccoli, raw spinach. I hate it when it's cooked. I think it tastes absolutely disgusting when it's cooked. My sister, her non-eat was mushrooms. And both she and I have like a texture thing with mushrooms. I love going out in the woods and finding them. I hate feeling it squeak on my teeth and eat it. I don't like that feeling. I think Gardner's, my brother Gardner's, I think it was lima beans. I never had a problem with lima beans. I'm okay with lima beans. I remember what Ashley's was. I can't remember what Ashley's was. Might have been like sauerkraut or something. But, yeah. Cooked spinach was just a non-starter with me, especially as a kid. I just, like... that was the face I would make when it got put in front of me. So it's probably better for everybody that didn't eat it because it would just been chunks everywhere. Phil Clayton, morning, Houston. Another early one of us, UKers. Is the PPT just digging a bigger and bigger hole for themselves at this point? Yeah. Pretty much. And I think that they're only doing it through the election. Once they get past that first Tuesday in November, they're gonna be like, all right, we're not doing this anymore. We'll let it burn. And it's gonna the correction will begin. Philip Clayton, guitar stuff, people. I mean, if I had to eat people, I guess I'd eat people. I try, like, as an adult, I try to make my arbitrary limit of creatures I eat anything that's as smart as a 5-year-old child. If they're dumber than a 5-year-old child, I'll eat them. So pigs are as smart as a 4-year-old, I'll eat a pig. I won't eat like an African gray parrot, dolphin, bonobo monkey, octopus, crow, border collie. Like that, I'm just not going to eat things that are smart as a 5-year-old child. So, but anything dumber than a 5-year-old, I'll eat. I have no problem doing that. Guitar stuff. Do you speak any other languages? I used to be able to get from place to place in France okay, but my French has not been utilized in 12 years. Even when I was in Paris in January, nothing. Like, nothing. That's about it. I can kind of understand, like, when my stepmom would yell at my little sister in Japanese, I could kind of understand what was being said, but I couldn't say it myself. But I could, like, almost follow along in the conversation. But no, I'm pathetic. Meanwhile, my oldest sister speaks like 11 languages fluently. You could drop her off in Papua New Guinea and with an uncontacted tribe, and she'd speak their language in a weekend. It's crazy. She speaks, what does she speak? Well, English, Japanese, Korean, Cantonese, Mandarin, French, Spanish, Russian, Latvian, Ukrainian, Tagalong. Yeah, I think it's 11. Yeah. So, She's got the languages down. I speak math and she can't speak math, so I got that over her. All right. Andrew Stewart made it. He made it. I'm wearing a shirt. Andrew Stewart sent me another care package of shirts. So we got the Andrew Stewart fashion specials going on. Iggy Lemon, Houston, what is the spookiest thing to happen to you that you have no explanation for? Spookiest thing to happen to me that I have no explanation for. I mean, I'm not one for like ghost stories or anything like that, but growing up, my friend's house, it was just old farmhouse, kind of ratty, and her bedroom was upstairs, which kind of had like this, almost like a second living room upstairs, and they would find things like the phone would ring, and she would answer it and realize that phone isn't connected to anything, and she'd have a conversation with somebody, but the phone like wasn't plugged into the wall. Weird things like that, and that's as weird as it got. Monkey Butt, do you have anything? You want to get in your thing? Yeah. Okay. There it is. Yeah. I mean, my UFO experiences, I got 2 of them. I think I talked about them in the past. I had one as a kid walking home from a friend's house, and there's just a bunch of zigzaggy lines in the sky, and then they fired across the other way, and that was weird. And then seeing what I guess was an experimental jet of some kind weave down a canyon in Utah at a freakishly low rate of speed, making no sound whatsoever, and the pilot locked eyes with me and waved and just kept following the canyon. It was weird. It seemed like he was flying like 25 miles an hour, just kind of gliding down the canyon, doing these turns that a normal plane or thing couldn't do. That was a long time. That was like 19 years ago. That was 2003, I think. Yeah, that was a long time ago. So hopefully they got that stuff working better. Alas, poor quasi Quartang, we hardly knew thee. Okay. All right. Hoshi Gaming, kind of good deep sea fishing companies for Oahu that you would recommend? I don't know any in Oahu. If I Not Your Friend is in here, or Hot Tater, they would know. The only deep sea fishing I did in Hawaii was garbage bag fishing. So you go to like the south end of the island and you long line it and you attach garbage bags full of air and you just let the wind blow the line out further and further and further and further and further. Like talking like miles of line, and they can go out and then catch, tuna and stuff that way. Jackfish. Some people caught, I guess, swordfish and stuff. This guy, what was his name? So every Sunday I would drive from Hilo to Kona to go sailing. There's a little sailboat race every Sunday, and I'd go crew on this guy's boat, and this other dude would show up, and he was always unemployed. He was just completely skinned like a baseball mitt, and some guy's like, yeah, can't find any work, whatever. And after like 6 months, he's like, guess what? I got a job. I was like, no way. What are you doing? He said, I'm driving a dive boat for some diving company. He was like, cool. He's like, I'm pretty excited. You just drive, anchor, and then go diving. You just sit there on the boat and make sure no one dies. I'm like, that's awesome. The next Sunday, I'm like, how'd your job go? He's like, dude, got fired day 1. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, well, they went diving, so I decided to go fishing. So I did some garbage bag fishing. And when they came up for air, I was beating a 900-pound marlin to death with air tanks. So it was like blood everywhere. So he was okay, because I guess the marlin fetched him like $7,000 or something. So that helped him be a beach bum for a little while longer. Who's on my board tonight? This is Virgilio. He is the cousin of Rich. He lives in the Philippines, and apparently he's going to take us on a off-road tour of the Pinatubo caldera when MOAS hits, because I'm game. I am game for it. So he's hanging out with us tonight, Daphne. BOFH, what's the latest on Credit Suisse? Heard they were trying to get help from other banks or something. Credit Suisse is dying. I don't know how much help they're going to get. I think what the Federal Reserve... Excuse me, I ate a pizza like 10 minutes ago. I think what the Federal Reserve sent to Switzerland, the Swiss Central Bank, is ultimately meant for Credit Suisse and probably UBS to keep them afloat. They just don't have the population or the currency available to prop those banks up. Those banks are bigger than the countries themselves, and there's no way to keep them afloat. So, that's my guess. My guess is that because the U.S. dollar is the standard currency everywhere, the Federal Reserve is going to be bailing out everybody. It's not just going to be U.S. banks this time around. They're going to figure out ways to deal with England, to deal with France, to deal with Germany, to deal with Australia, deal with Japan, because they're the currency everyone has to use. So that's going to be... It's going to further indebt the world to the United States. So, okay. That's probably what we're working on. Yeah. Meow meow. How is it the equilibrium was stylishly cool and super lame at the same time? True. I think because it was so low budget. It was supposed to be like the movie that's going to be better than The Matrix, but they spent like $8 on it. And, they did like the gunfights and they had the Vast song or whatever that was in it. And it was okay, for a low budget movie. I was like, it's okay. I don't think about it at all until you mentioned it. Then, I'm like, oh, yeah, that movie. Oh, yeah. You haven't seen Equilibrium. All right, what was it? Who was in it? It was, what's his butt was in it, wasn't he? Monkey? Batman. / Patrick Bateman. / You know what I'm talking about, little buddy. She knows. Yeah, got some Christopher Nolan movies. I think he was in it. I can think of everyone else's name and his character's names, but I can't think of his name. Okay. BTW brand. There are earthquakes on Big Island. Could come action shortly. Oh, getting some earthquakes. Let's look up the HVO earthquakes. Nope. HVO, High Volcano Observatory. Give us some earthquakes, baby. Ooh, got an orange watch on Kilauea. All right. Let's see here. Chrome. Turn on the Chrome. Bam. All right. Whoops, that's the wrong one. Bam. Okay. Watch orange. Kilauea is on orange. Where's my earthquakes? Where's my sun? There's earthquakes. Bam. Don't give me information of like how you measure earthquakes. I want to see the actual measurements, you ding dongs. Give me. HVO seismograph. That's what I want. That's the stuff. Here we go. Oh, look at all that red. Goodness gracious. Use control to zoom. Got quite a few happening here, but they don't differentiate according to size, do they? Love tube. Oh, that's just where they are. That's not the list of them. Okay. Dude, Hawaii Volcano Observatory, your first thing should be the current earthquakes. Monitoring earthquakes. Here, how about latest earthquakes? That might help. Bam. There's latest earthquakes. Okay. I don't want that. I want you. There we go. That's the stuff. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, we got... What are you? 2.8? Don't care. You. 2.5, don't care. Mauna Loa, 2.9, don't care. Oh, but a whole bunch in the south zone. This is the zone that I think is going to have a breakout. They haven't had an eruption down here since I think the late 70s. Hala, 2.7, that's a big one. 3 point something? What are you? Ooh, 5.0. 7 kilometers, Pahala. Yeah, this might wipe out that little Turtle Beach down in Punaluu. It opens up. 3.6. Who were you? You were 4.6. You got a 5.0 and a 4.6 down here. Yep. I think that's where they're going to get their next surface eruption. Cool. All right. Meow meow. After MOAS, I'm buying J Florida Claw Cruise because she puts the yow and meow. J Flor. Oh, J Flaw. J Flaw? I don't know who J Flaw is. J Florida? J Flaw? Because this is a cruise. I can need my eyes checked. I still have got glasses and I haven't made a new appointment. I had made an appointment for my eyes checked in June and then I got COVID and couldn't go. I haven't made another appointment. I need to. These glasses are falling apart. Plus I'm blind. Okay. Oh, you silly. Sorry. As I'm reading something, the whole chat just goes right to the bottom. And it just... Okay. BTW. Wonder what an earthquake is like if you are on a body of water. Would the waves vibrate or you feel like pressure in your skin hair? They have a frequency up to 10 hertz. Feel like an elephant calls. You only feel it, I think, if you're in a body of water that will slosh, like a small bay or a lake. Otherwise, you'll hear it. You'll hear the ka-kunk, 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 ka-kunk coming through the water, but you won't necessarily feel it in the boat. When the tsunami wave passes through, it's a lateral wave, and you might get a little bit of a jerk in the boat, but the boat won't really go up or down unless you're close to shore, where that wave hits the shore and builds up. But it will rocket under you at this almost the speed of a passenger jet as it goes by. Monkey butt. Why are you whining? Why are you doing your little whine thing? You don't need to do that. Yeah. She's like, he's talking to the wall again. He just got home. He's talking to the wall. One of the Echelon sites, my former roommate had a military ID because of being a Navy brat and would take a train here for the PX to get Mountain Dew and Pop-Tarts to sell to American students for coffee money. What? Sometimes I just read these things and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Where'd that come from? What? Why are you whining? Why are you whining? Why are you whining? There's no need to whine. You're a good little dog. Yeah. Okay. Michael Harrow, Gardner seems to be a Bruce Lee fan and you're a Mr. T fan. Put Bruce Lee and Mr. T in the octagon, who would win? I think we'd all win because Mr. T is just a wonderful man. And Bruce Lee, they would just like shake hands and I don't know, feed homeless people together or something. But, Mr. T was a muscle-bound, strong man, but he also wasn't that tall. He's only like 5'8". And so Bruce Lee's not that big either. But Mr. T had mass on Bruce Lee, and, that's saying something. But I don't care how good a fighter you are. If somebody has more mass than you, there's only so much you can do to them before they just, like, sit on you. And then that's it. Owen Saunders, morning, pal. What do you know about Wales as a country? That your words are unpronounceable. That's about it. That's about my knowledge of Wales. There's some mines. There's some old gold mines in Wales. mean, the Welsh hillsides are really pretty. I mean, I've seen movies and pictures and stuff. It's always very gorgeous. Okay. Guitar Stop Houston, is there a reason the Pacific is so large and that no significant landmass exists within its main body? Yep. There's a giant reason for it. It's called Pangea. Let's get this sucker up and running. Okay. There we go. Dun, da, da. All right. So first we're going to zoom out and we're going to look at the Atlantic. We've got the spreading ridge that goes between the major continents here. 300 million years ago, all those continents were together. One giant landmass called Pangea had formed, and all the continents were smacked together, and the rest of the world was just one giant scary ocean of just terrible storms that were happening. And around 300 million years ago, those continents started to split apart because of the spreading ridge forming. The spreading ridge is like this weird conveyor belt from the mantle. So all this hot stuff comes up from the mantle because it needs to cool off, and it just goes outwards like this conveyor belt as more hot material comes up between. So you can look at the spreading ridge itself, and you can see the seam here. And this is all literally lava that's coming up, spreading out, and moving along like a conveyor belt. And so as a result, Africa is spreading from South America. North America is spreading from Europe. You can go to Iceland, and you can go and literally right by Reykjavik, right here, is the spreading ridge. And there's a tiny little canyon here, and you can put 1 foot in North America and 1 foot in Europe, and you've just stood on two different continents at the same time. Because the spreading ridge splits right through Iceland. You can scuba dive this trench too. My little sister did it just a couple months ago. But as a result, it means the Pacific Ocean is getting smaller. So this is the Pacific Ocean. You can basically get almost the entire Pacific into one hemisphere of the Earth because it's that big. It's huge. The Pacific is just gigantic. Absolutely just bewilderingly huge. But it's getting smaller. So as North America gets pushed to the west, and as South America gets pushed to the west, Africa and Asia is getting pushed to the east. So it's slowly gobbling up the Pacific Ocean. And eventually, let's say 300, maybe 600 to 800 million years from now, Asia and North America will smack into each other. Australia and South America will smack into each other, and the Pacific Ocean will be no more. It'll be gone. There'll be giant mountain ranges where the Pacific Ocean was as these major continents slam into each other, and there'll be no more. Hawaii will get pinched into a little nub, turned into a hot spot somewhere on the continent, and making big scary volcanoes that way. But that's why the Pacific Ocean is so big, because it used to be even bigger. But now it's slowly shrinking at a rate of about 3 to 4 inches a year, depending on where you are. And here in the Northwest, we have this little oceanic plate, the Juan de Fuca plate, which doesn't have much left, and it's almost been all gobbled up by Oregon, Washington, California, and British Columbia. And this is where big scary earthquakes come from. And there's a little spreading ridge right here, just like you have in the Atlantic, spreading out between the Pacific plate and the Juan de Fuca plate. So, there you go. That is why. Since we can't talk MMTLP or metamaterials because I have Africa. No. Dr. Spurgeon, the Sturgeon Surgeon, Houston, do you think algos can mess up everything for the hedge funds and market makers by going rogue? On Thursday, I looked a bit confused. Yeah. I think that's one problem with the plunge protection team is that, everything's set up to do one thing, and then the Federal Reserve jumps in and goes, oh, we're going to buy up a bunch of securities and keep this thing afloat. And everybody goes, oh, crap, we have to readjust our algorithms because they are not adapting the way they should. And so I think definitely could have, all it takes is Citadel to lose access to one of the major meme accounts, which I think has happened in the past, where like their computer wasn't connected to the internet or something. And all of a sudden, all of the sell orders jumped up to $600,000. It doesn't take much to get the party started. All it takes is somebody falling asleep at the wheel. If one of these big market makers decides to like lay some people off, and then one of those people happens to be the guy that's like supposed to watch this stuff to make sure that the algos are doing their thing, and they're not around, then that's done. It's over. Meow meow. I saw David Prose at the Comic-Con 95. He was selling his autograph for $50. I told him no way, he couldn't even Jedi mind trick me that crap. I don't even know who David Prose is. So, David Prose, actor, English actor, portrayed Darth Vader. He's the guy in the Darth Vader costume? Ah, that guy's old as shit. Here's a bodybuilder weightlifter. 6'6". Okay. So here's the dude inside the suit of Darth Vader. Okay. That's who he is. Well, there you go. I mean, $50. $50 $1995 is like charging somebody $300 now for an autograph. That's a little bit much. But you know what? You don't have David Prose's autograph. That's for sure. So, who really won in the end on that one? There's I Not Your Friend. Hey, I Not Your Friend. Do you have a deep sea fishing company for our buddy up there? Who was it I was asking? Was it Philip? Who was it? Hoshi Gaming was asking about deep sea fishing. So if you got one for Hoshi Gaming, let them know. What's up with spider season in Seattle? That was the tweet I was referring to last live. So every year, end of September, beginning of October, around when fall starts to kick in, all like the orb spiders, and I can't remember all the names of all the spiders out here. All the spiders start just making webs like crazy. Anything that's within 6 feet of something else has spider webs going across it, and a giant spider waiting to catch a whole bunch of bugs and just gorge themselves before winter comes. And they are everywhere. You can open the door to your house, go inside, close the door, and 15 minutes later, you open the door again, you walk through a spider web. It is absolutely ridiculous how many spiders are out there. And so there's a bunch of seasons in Seattle. It's usually like the darkness, Snowmageddon, fake spring, more rain and darkness, spring, January, and then fire season, then spiders, and then the darkness again. And spider season just began. So the guy who writes the oatmeal in one of our little community pages on Facebook was like, hey, I made a cartoon to celebrate this time of year. And it was of this like bunny rabbit opening the door to his house and just spiders just covering him because it's spider season. And that's what everyone realized, like, oh crap, the guy who writes the oatmeal is our neighbor. I knew he lived in Seattle, but I didn't know he was a Bainbridge Islander. I didn't know he lived here, like on the island. It was just another. I mean, there's some rad people who live here. Got the guitarist Bill Frisell, Ben Shepherd of Soundgarden. Who's the guy that does all the voice? Remember the voice lessons guy? If you know somebody who's like a pop star or a death metal singer, they come to Bainbridge apparently and do voice lessons with this one dude. His name is totally escaping me right now. He wrote like a 30-hour opera that he wanted my friend to film and then didn't want to pay him. And he's like, I'm not going to film that. There's a lot of like best-selling authors. Johnny Evison wrote All About Lulu, Fundamentals of Caregiving, West of Here, is that him? It was West of Here. Lawn Boy. He's wrote a bunch of great books. He's a cool dude. Also, hell of an arm. I played baseball with him. Dude's got a cannon. Okay. Oh. Get forged. Taking all these vids during my night shifts. After dark rocks. I mean, I'm a night owl to begin with, and I just end up not having time often during the day. I got so many things I got to do during the day that I just don't have the time to do it. So I like to be able to do afternoon shows again more often, but I just haven't been finding the time. Okay. BDB brand, nice shirt. I had one that was black and white like that. This is it's a lovely shirt. It's simple. It's got hibiscus and plumeria on it. I think there's only 2 flowers on here. Very, very Hawaii. Hibiscus is the state flower. Plumeria is the beautiful, almost like rubbery rose petals, rubbery petals, and they smell delicious when they bloom. You just drive by, you're like, that entire tree smells so good. Okay. Jason Blackwell, hey Houston, living so close to the ocean, you should buy a boat. If you can float the payment, maybe you can find one on sale. Oh, God. We have a boat. My dad has a sailboat. I don't need to own one. He's got one. I'll go out in that. But your joke was terrible. All right. Steve Horton, 6 a.m. in the UK off the gym. You guys are earlier risers. Holy smokes. Michael McMinnison, I have a feeling if we get a second intro, we will have Moa soon. Sorry, man. No second intro today. 9 shows in a row without a second intro. Woo! High five, Virgilio. There we go. All right. Michael Harrow, Houston, by the time you read this, your Elgato Monkey Cam will be frozen. Not yet. Ha ha! You missed it. All right. Lots of ways. What's up with AMC paying off debt too little too late? It was a $400 million bond that was due next year, and it was 12.5% interest, 12.75% interest. Really bad interest. I mean, that's like the type of stuff that an 18-year-old with a credit card will get. I mean, they got to pay off debt. What money they're using to pay off that debt, I don't know. Have they been selling those apes into the market? We've had no announcement of them doing it, but they could be. And it could be paying off that way. Maybe they said, hey, lender, I'll give you, 100 million apes and you write that thing off. Maybe that's what they're doing. Al wrote, Houston, is there a possibility that a market crash is bad for speculative money losing companies like GME? Is it possible that the poors will never be allowed to crush a bank? Well, GME's got enough cash on hand that they can probably last 3 years not pulling in any profit. So I don't think they have to worry too much about that. The counterpoint also is when people are poor and they don't have a job, they still need something to do. And a great way to spend your day when you have nothing else to do is to go buy a $60 video game and just play video games all day while you wait for a call from, someone who we could be hiring. So, I think, people aren't going to take fancy vacations, but they will find $60 to buy a video game and do stuff like that. So I don't think it should be too terrible for them. The video game markets were still roaring through the economic downturns. I don't think it's going to be too bad for them. TKK's in Denmark, another early morning Euro. BW brand, I buy chewing gum made in your country. Never seen another product made there for sale here. We have, at the grocery store here, we have a blackberry jam that comes from Denmark. I don't like it very much. I got it once and I was like, I don't like tasting these blackberries. And went back to Smucker's. But I saw it and it's still there. Lost waves. I stopped buying Starbucks, but I still end up at the Eye of Africa. What gives? You and the Eye of Africa, man. Arrgh! Guitar stuff. Note the Fed says it'll sell up to X amount of MBS, mortgage-backed securities, but the main plan for mortgage-backed securities was let it go off the books via house selling and refinancing, which isn't happening as planned. Yeah, no one is going to refinance when interest rates are 7%. That's not going to happen. So, like, the Fed's like, we're going to raise rates. How come no one's refinancing? Gee, man, why? I've got interest rate at 2.5%. I guess I'll go to the bank and see if I can refinance for 8. No, I don't know what they're thinking, man. I mean, they have to raise interest rates because they have to get inflation under control, and it's going to suck, and it's going to result in the economy just crashing even further than it would have already. But our out of control inflation that started in the 70s and was finally tackled with insanely high interest rates in the early 80s still didn't get down to 2%, which was their goal, until after the 2008 crash. Like, inflation was still 3-4% almost that entire time through the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and didn't hit that goal of 2% until after the economy crashed in 2008. So I don't know what they're going to try and do. I think the biggest thing, if you want to get inflation under control, the two biggest things you have to do are break up monopolies and get the supply chain going again. Those are the two biggest things. But the problem is that China's zero COVID policy is never going to get the supply chain up and running the way it should, because entire cities of tens of millions of people who manufacture specific parts for machinery and computers and cars and everything else will shut down for like 3 weeks. And then the entire supply chain shuts down because this one tiny little motor is made in this one factory where 100,000 people in, I don't know, Fujian or whatever work, and they can't go to work for 3 weeks, which means all of that on-demand ordering for all these parts for different factory lines and whatever aren't going to happen, because that tiny little motor that does the wiper blades on Nissans and Hondas and Toyotas or whatever can't get to the factory, and if you don't have working wiper blades, you can't sell a car. So that everyone just sits and waits for the wiper blade motor to show up, and after a backlog, finally 6 months later, they get their shipment of wiper blade motors they ordered, and they can start selling cars again. That is probably the biggest weakness of the global economy. Is we used to have these companies be completely vertically integrated. Like, General Motors, AC Delco, same company. They just vertically integrated. AC Delco made all the little parts. General Motors put the cars together, sold them. And then General Motors like, you know what we should do? We should sell off AC Delco, spin it off as a company, sell it off ourselves. And then we can go anywhere on the market and buy all this cheap stuff everywhere. And what they discover is it's never cheaper to buy it from other people than it is to just make it yourself. When I did my tour of the Blue Origin factory, there's this crazy machine bell housing that goes into their rocket engines. And originally Jeff Bezos went to this company in Texas that can machine this stuff, and for $12 million or something, they machine this bell housing out of one single piece of cast iron or whatever it's made out of, and it was cracked. And so Bezos was like, why am I paying you guys? I can go buy the CNC machine for $10 million and then find some guy for $200,000 a year to work it for me, and then I can do it at cost, and I can make as many of them as I want. Why would I contract with you? And so Blue Origin's like, screw this. Vertical integration is the way to go. And if there's any company out there that makes something similar to contract, Bezos just hires away the dude who knows how to do it. And so they vertically integrated their entire rocket manufacturing system. Boeing used to make all their stuff at home. It's in-house, almost everything. They may have had a few contractors here and there, but those contractors were all in the Seattle area, and they were right next to the main Boeing factory. So if you need something, you just go over and knock on their door and be like, hey, can you machine this new titanium bolt for me? They're like, no problem. And then we get done. And then Boeing wanted to get away from all their machinists and engineers who would strike and everything, so they moved to Chicago, claiming that they wanted better traffic, whatever. So they moved to Chicago, and then they decided to fire a bunch of people and get their planes built all over the world. And so they're like, oh, you know what we can get cheaper labor elsewhere, not use all these union machinists that have been building airplanes for 150 years. We'll just get a bunch of yokels in South Carolina, pay them minimum wage, and they'll build the same planes for us. And so they started building the 787 program down there for like a $1.4 billion tax break. And the yokels in South Carolina built like 30 planes that were so poorly put together they'll never fly, at a cost of like $25 billion. And so Boeing's goal of saving on the machinists in Seattle and get a $1.5 billion tax break ended up costing them like $30 billion in the end. So they lost $30 billion trying to save $1.5 billion. So vertically integrate, man. You don't need to get batteries from Japan that burn your planes down in the air. Right? Oh, you're just such an adorable little dog. Yes, you are. Where was I going? Why am I talking about this? Oh, from what products made places. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that one. We're just spinning our wheels here tonight. Okay. Oh, mortgage-backed securities. That's right. Because we're just idiots and we didn't plan for the financing, and then I went off the rails from there. Okay. Jay Corn on the Cob, I think it was Reagan who introduced the plunge protection team in the 80s. Very possibly. Stephen Lewis, what is the hardest part about eating a vegetable? The wheelchair. Oh my God. Oof. Okay. Also got coordinates. Let's go. Let's do some coordinates. Let's coordinate. Bam, bam, bam. Idaho. Where are we? We are in a dirt area in Idaho. What's this Wikipedia say? SL1. Stationary low power reactor number 1. So we're at a site of Idaho National Labs. This is where this was. Experimental newest Army experimental nuclear reactor in the Western United States. National Reactor Testing Station. Later, the Idaho National Laboratory. Yep. Idaho Falls, Idaho experienced a meltdown and a steam explosion on the night of January 33rd, 1961, killing all 3 of its young military operators and pinning one of them to the ceiling of the facility with a reactor vessel plug. Holy shit. Direct cause was the over-withdrawal of the central control rod responsible for absorbing neutrons in the reactor's core. The event is the only reactor accident in the U.S. history that resulted in immediate fatalities. The accident released about 80 curies of iodine-131, which is not considered significant due to its location in the remote high desert of eastern Idaho. About 1,100 curies of fission products was released into the atmosphere. Okay. Huh. How did I ever read about this? So this is before the accident. Looks like a grain elevator, doesn't it? It's a tiny little guy. Just a tiny little guy. The show looks today. Checking radioactive contamination nearby Highway 20. Stretcher rig, our volunteers, special chemical radioactive unit. Dugway, proving ground. Practice before crane. Inserted into the rig. Huh. How about that? SL1 burial site. Capped with rip wrap. Do not go there. Don't walk it. Don't drink it. Don't eat it. Don't go inside. Animation film. What is this? Tell me, it's just a GIF of some kind. I can't tell what's going on there. Safety poster designed for engineering offices depicting a melted SL1 reactor core. That looks pretty melted. Cool. That's a cool spot. Ain't nothing still there. They buried that thing. It is in the middle of nowhere. Lots of good lava flows out here, though. Look at that lava flow. Built all they the farms around the lava flows. I love it. That's like Hawaii, the way they do it. Little kipukas there. Cool. Good spot. Good spot indeed. Lost Way in Houston, what's your favorite Super Mario villain? Well, the one I play in Nintendo 64 Mario Kart. Wario. That's my favorite. Dr. Spurgeon, Sturgeon Surgeon, Manani is Jello. I have a phobia of Jello. I don't know why. It's not a solid liquid. It's weird. Pectin, baby. You just don't like eating them horse hooves. It's okay. I'll eat your Jello for you. Spencer's Inside Out Sweater. My one out as a kid was beef stroganoff. However, I up and left the house when my grandparents made microwave liver and onions. Yeah, liver was my mom's non-eat. She did not like liver. She didn't like the idea of it. It was not right. And so that was her non-eat. She was like, we will never eat liver in this house, ever. So can't talk about MAC. Can we talk about Africa? No, Carlos. Blue cheese is vile. Blue cheese is delicious. I love stinky cheese. I love stinky cheese. Liver and onions is a disgusting meal. It is just vile. I remember reading a story about these guys. They're on a small bush plane. They crashed in Alaska. They were stuck out there for weeks. And I think they'd killed a wolf or something. And were eating the wolf. And neither of them liked liver. And they saved the liver for last. I'm like, oh, I just can't eat liver. And finally, cooked the liver, ate the liver. And there was so much vitamin A in their system that their skin started sloughing off. And when they were found by rescue teams, they had exposed muscle because they had just vitamin A poisoned themselves with the liver of the animal. No, thank you. I told you guys about Muhammad when I was in Tunisia, betting the Bedouin barbecue guys that we could eat 8 kilograms of lamb, that the 2 giant Americans could eat 8 kilograms of lamb. And they brought out the stack of lamb on a platter that was just like a volcano. A whole bunch of these sausages and then a full kilogram of liver. And I was like, yeah, Muhammad, I don't eat liver, man. I just don't eat it. And my friend Arn was like, yeah, I don't eat liver either. Muhammad was like, I don't want to eat a kilogram of liver. I'm like, buddy, if you want 160 dinar, you just bet those guys, you're eating a kilogram of liver. He did it. Arn and I polished off all the rest of the lamb and the 2 liter of Coca-Cola. And we won Muhammad 160 dinar, and he was told never to come back again. So, victory to victories. Steve Gahagan, Houston, how about some good news? Tell us about Seattle's Officer Cookie. Saw a segment on my local news here in Nebraska. I have no idea who Officer Cookie is. Officer Cookie? Detective Denise Cookie Bolden. That's from 2015. Washington Chess Park, named after police officer Denise Cookie Bolden, who grew up on the south side of Chicago. Is that it about? It's a chess park in Seattle named after Officer Cookie. I have no idea who this person is. So they named a park after her there, Steve. That's all I know. Yogi 2012. I'm so excited about the things Houston can't talk about. I am very excited about them as well. Yes. Houston Wade the Spy is a meme stock. Yeah. Yep. Spy is all meme stock combined. Spiked Head, Die Crack. That's quite the name. You would make a great sitcom character. Someone should hire you. What sitcom would you like to be on? Community. I would love to be a professor on Community. That would be I would love to be like a physics teacher for them or something. That would be absolutely fantastic. Joel McHale, make it happen. I will be in your movie. I just do it. Try this. Not Eye of Africa. I agree. It's not the Eye of Africa. It is somewhere, though, in Europe or North Africa. Somewhere in there. Let's go. Let's go there, Andrew Stewart. Maybe your Hawaiian shirts will be there. Bam. Oh, that's got to be a period, not a comma. Bam. There we go. We are in North Africa. We are in a little burg. Where are we in Morocco? We're at a pool. Where is this? Duzad Falls. That's a cool waterfall. Look at that. That's gorgeous. I can tell from here it's gorgeous. Okay, we're 2551, and it goes down 300 feet down that waterfall. That looks like it's pretty cool. Okay, so where are we? Looks like a pool. That's definitely a pool. Hotel France Uzod. Can I man it down here? Where? Google Car has not made it here yet. But there's the pool. Here's a ground view. Take me up. Bam. Uzod Waterfalls. Oh. Nope. Here. There we go. Okay, so we're in, I think this is Morocco, isn't it? Up near the Atlas. Yeah, we're in Morocco. Okay. There's Marrakesh down there. Looks like a beautiful little town in a beautiful little spot. I could dig it. I'd visit this place. Got like some camping. Got some more camping. So we got whitewater rapids going all the way down. It's a cool spot. I'd dig it, Andrew. Let's go visit. I've always wanted to go also to Sidi Ifni down here. You guys ever heard about Sidi Ifni? Here's Safi, Sidi Ifni. Where's Sidi Ifni? Somewhere down the Sidi Ifni. Sidi Ifni. Boom, boom. There it is. I've always wanted to go here. There's a really great song by a cracker about being in Sidi Ifni. And apparently, there's its own kingdom at one time. And there's a palace and a queen. And there's like this giant abandoned airport. And I don't know. It just seemed like after listening to that song, I'm like, it paints a picture. I want to go visit here. Yeah. The abandoned runways it was like a military airport or something. Yeah, that's a modern port. I don't think it was here. That was here the last time I went to go look. Maybe they're up and coming now. But yeah, I want to go to Morocco someday. Dane Cook trying to cook something up with Adam Aaron. Dane Cook? That guy still is alive? I haven't seen him in anything in 20 years. If all these banks are losing money, who is gaining it? I don't know if it's necessarily a zero-sum game so much as just wealth is evaporating. Because the bank gives someone $1 million for a home. They give the person they bought the home from the $1 million, and they get the home. And now the home is worth $500,000. They can't pay back their $1 million loan. The money just goes out into the ether. I don't know where it goes after that. I saw your coordinates, Andrew Stewart. Maybe you have to put some other words in there to get the coordinates going. Who's on your board today? Oh, it's Stephanie on the board. You already asked me that. And I said that was Virgilio. It's me, BK. Houston, I find it ridiculous that GME folks are touting Finestone and Cyberhorse, leaving GME as bullish news. Do you have any thoughts? It makes us sound like AMC holders justifying Adam Aaron selling. I mean, I got nothing. I think those folks did what they were hired to do, and now it's done. And that's why they're moving on. The type of guys who want to tackle an insane project, see it through, and they're like, okay, I did my thing. Now on to the next one. I don't know how many people get into an executive level position at a company like Genie, like, this is where I'm going to be the rest of my life. Mid-caps, I don't think necessarily draw the talent they have for long periods of time. They use it as a stepping stone to go on to somewhere else. Lost waves, how is plunge protection team and not market manipulation? It is. It's literally what it is. Yeah. BOFH Houston, what if the Fed somehow becomes insolvent due to the plunge protection team buying up so many toxic assets that goes straight to zero somehow? I thought the Fed printed dollars against the U.S. debt, right? They do. They won't become insolvent because they can never become insolvent because they can just print more. But printing more results in more inflation, and they got to raise interest rates even higher. So they basically have one side of the Fed printing money like crazy, the other side of the Fed raising interest rates like crazy, and they're battling each other. And we just need them to stop. Just stop one of those things and let it be. Probably stop the printing side is what they'll do. Christian Bale, that's the one I was... yes. That's the name I'm looking for. I can't remember Christian Bale's name. He was in Equilibrium, I think. I think he was in Equilibrium. Christian Bale's best role was in the movie Vice about Dick Cheney. Never saw it. I've heard it was good. Never saw it, though. Oh, you stupid chat. Always resetting on me. Okay. All right. That's that one. That's the Christian Bale one. Asking if Credit Suisse is bailed out. Is it good for GME price? Only if it's during MOAS they're bailed out. I think the liquidations have to begin, the forced buying have to begin, and then the banks getting drained at that point and then bailed out. If they get bailed out ahead of time, they're going to be using that to lend out and to pass the hedge funds so that they can meet their margin requirements and don't have to liquidate anybody. And then it's just going to go for another cycle. I think we need pain. We need them to rip that Band-Aid off before they bother bailing anyone out. Let them go to zero and then worry about it. And I think that's kind of what we have to do in that regard. Aaron Sounding, Houston, moment of truth next week on T plus 90. Well, that's T plus 90 for GameStop, which might not have a T plus 90. Because remember, they didn't make it a dividend. They made it a forward split of the DTCC. And if it's forward split, there's essentially no T90 involved in that. It has to be the dividend not delivered, creating a bunch of synthetics. And if there are no synthetics because they just invented shares out of thin air, which is a synthetic in its own, but it's not a dividend related one. I don't know if there's a T90, but if there's not a T90, then that could give GME the whole give us our shares back excuse. How did this Garth Brooks bodies thing even start? I have no idea. I don't know the reference. I don't get it. I'm so confused. Houston, you see Blink-182 is back together and now back on tour, but look at those ticket prices. Say it ain't so, I will not go. I don't care about Blink-182. I don't like their music. Never have. So they can be back together. They can not be back together. Don't care at all. I would not be paid money to go see them because I don't like their music at all. I think I'm not a big fan of punk music in general, but they're like really bad punk and I don't like it. They're like studio punk. They might be nice guys. They might be great people. I don't like their music. I have a theory that 9 out of 10 bands with numbers in their name just suck. I don't like most bands with numbers in their names. They're just bad. Okay. Bruce Lee would kill him. Talking about the Bruce Lee, Mr. T potential fight. Well, here's the thing, is that Mr. T has lived like 40 years longer than Bruce Lee because Bruce Lee's heart exploded. So my guess is that all you have to do is just wait him out, and then Bruce Lee just dies. So, and then you win. Interesting. Look familiar. This is from Venture Brothers. I love Venture Brothers so much. Mike, what's the chance of nuclear war? I think the chance is pretty good that Russia's going to do something stupid. That Putin will feel so backed into a corner and trying to save face that he'll blow something up. And Biden basically said, hey, if you drop a nuke anywhere, we're coming at you with our conventional warfare, and we're going to wipe out your ability to do that again. Which could cause Putin to go, hit all the buttons at once, ka-chunk. But I think Putin right now is fighting for his own survival because he sort of bet the farm on this invasion of Ukraine and that he would win it in 3 days and be seen as a genius and then be revered by the people. But the people are leaving. They've lost 1 million men of conscription age who've just fled the country. They are literally having police officers go and just conscript random people off the street and be like, guess what? You're in the army now. Which does not bode well for your economy, because if all your working age people are getting sent off to go die in the front line in another country, then what meager economy you got left isn't going to be happening. And you got a bunch of people that left Russia and will never return. Ever. They're done. If you're a 25-year-old man and you can get out of that country and get to another country and be like, oh my gosh, the winters here are so much better. This is lovely. Why would I go back? You're not going back. And so there's going to be a diaspora of Russians as a result of this war where they're going to be all over the world, never to return. And the Russian population is going to shrink once again. And they already are not replacing their population. No one's making babies because, why would you? You're miserable. The breakaway republics are spelling weakness, and they're seeing an ability to maybe we can finally separate ourselves from Russia and be our own thing. And Russia doesn't want that. Russia would rather kill off all the ethnicities, put a bunch of Russians in there, and then deal with it that way. I mean, they've been doing that since the 19-teens. Did it in Ukraine, did it in Kazakhstan. They just kill off the local population, starve them all to death, and then put some Russians in there. But, I bet Putin is dumb enough. He's not a logical actor in this. He's an asshole. And assholes operate under one thing only, which is do as I say, not as I do. And if it's not happening as it happened, I'm going to take you all with me. And he'll do that. So pretty high that there's a nuclear conflict that happens. Because, well, we're a bunch of idiots, and that's just the way things go. BFH, on the assumption that something breaks down financially in Europe, what's the most likely contagion factor to cause massive issues in the U.S. financial system? They're banks. I think that's the thing that the U.S. has to worry about most are the banks in Europe. Those banks have their little fingers all over the world, and they're much bigger than the populations of the nations where they're based because of their international status. And those nations don't have the money printing ability that our banks do because we've got the Fed and everyone deals in US dollars. All the loans and bonds and everything else that's happening in those countries are all done in US dollars. And if they don't have access to those dollars, they're screwed. So that's probably the biggest contagion right there is the European banks. Um, is Europe the Pluto of continents? All right, we'll look at continents here. Okay, we'll leave Africa. Africa is gigantic. All right, so Europe is technically Eurasia. So African continent is splitting right here where the Red Sea is, and the fault line cuts through basically where the Suez Canal is, and then you got a whole new continent over in Europe, in the Middle East. Some will say that the Bosphorus is the split between Asia and Europe. It's a rift, but I wouldn't say it's like a full on thing. But the seam for Europe is the Ural Mountains. So when Europe smacked into Asia, the Ural Mountains formed. It's this mountain range that kind of goes down this western part of Russia. So this side of Russia is in Europe. This side of Russia is in Asia. But the Eurasian continent, like this huge giant continent here that takes up a huge portion of your screen, it is made up of several smaller subcontinents. You've got Arabia, you've got Indian subcontinent, you got Japan and East Indies and stuff. And you'll notice if you go to where Asia ends and North America begins, there's actually no plate difference. It's all built on the same continental shelf. So technically, Europe, Asia, India, Japan, Alaska, and all of North America are one giant supercontinent. They're all connected by the same continental shelf. And they don't become a new continent until you get down to the isthmus where Panama connects to South America. Even though technically they've got the same continental shelf there, this only connected 6 million years ago. And until then, they're separate continents. But yeah, they're connected, man. They are connected. And when it gets cold enough and the ice builds up on land, this becomes dry land. You can walk across it. So that's why you check the genetics of all the indigenous people in Americas, and they match the genetics of all the people that were in Eastern Asia. So technically, Europe is part of North America, but we do separate down the middle of the Atlantic here. We're like that. That's kind of what our continents are like. Okay. Where was I? That one. Europe. Okay. Nil 218-981. Houston, what do we get if we buy Sears defaulted bins and Eric Moore is right and they have more assets than liabilities? They are secured notes at 6.25%, unsecured notes 8%. I don't think you get anything because the whole point of going to bankruptcy is that they just wipe those bonds clean and that they won't pay any of those back. So I don't think you'll get anything if you buy those bonds because the whole point of that bankruptcy court was to make it so they don't have to pay them back. So I wouldn't buy them. Roger's son, James Earl Jones, made an agreement to let his voice be manipulated digitally for Darth Vader in perpetuity. Yeah, apparently in the most recent Star Wars thing with him, it was just a computer doing his voice. Which, I mean, the guy's like 91, 92. It's time. He wants to retire. He can retire. Why not? Just in my head, can you explain time dilation and the cosmonaut who got 0.02 seconds older from his 311 days in space? I think he got 0.02 seconds younger from his 311 days in space because he's traveling faster, which means he just was experiencing time dilation. Okay. How to explain time dilation in the easiest, most simple terms. All right. You are an observer. You're in a spaceship traveling next to another spaceship. And there's 3 spaceships, let's say. We got 2 spaceships, one traveling above another, and you're in a third one moving along with them and watching them do this experiment. And they're shooting a laser out the bottom of one ship that's bouncing off a mirror of the other ship, coming back up and hitting a receiver in the first ship. It's going bang, bang, and they're just measuring how long it takes that beam to go. And you go, okay, flying along, watch the beam go, ba-bong, it's done. Cool. Now you go to this little asteroid, you're seeing the asteroid, and you're watching the ships fly past as they do this experiment. And when you watch the laser beam come out, it comes out at an angle, hits the mirror, flies back up at an angle, and hits the receptor. So it's traveled a further distance. And we have to bring out the Google Paint, or the paint, so I can draw this for you. Paint. There it is. All right. Shabam. Shaboom. Go there. Turn on the paint. Turn off the earth. Turn off the chrome. Okay. All right. So, brush. Sure. Thickness. Let's make you a thick boy. There we are. All right. So we got ourselves. That's our ship number 1. That's our ship number 2. And it's shooting a laser out. Doot, 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 doot. And the laser bounces back up and hits the receptor. So it's doing back and forth. But if the ship is traveling at speed, right, and ends up over here, and you have this one's traveling at speed as well, right? So as they're traveling along, they're going that way. You can have the laser. I'll make it green laser this time. The laser fires out. This is the outside observer. Hits the mirror somewhere when the ships are over here. And then reflects back and hits here. So rather than, if you're traveling with them at their speed, you see the laser go this, 30-foot distance, and everything's fine. If you're a stationary observer and you watch them fly past, the laser's going to look like it does 60 or 100 feet before it hits the reflector and bounces back up. So if you're traveling at speed, the laser traveled a shorter distance. If you're a stationary observer, the laser traveled a further distance. It dilated. So your experience of time as the outside observer who's sitting still is longer than the people who are inside the spaceship as it's firing back and forth. And so if you are traveling faster, time is slowing down for you. If you're traveling slower, time seems to take up more, moves faster, I guess I should say. And so the cosmonaut who spent a year in space lost a fraction of a second, or is younger by a fraction of a second, because he was traveling 17,000 miles an hour for an entire year going around the Earth. That is just a piss poor explanation, but that's how it works. The faster you go, the more time slows down for you. So there you go. Boink. I wish I had like computer animation abilities and make things look nice. Come on, click. There we go. Where am I? That was that one. And then I went to people arguing about algorithms, James Earl Jones, Gregory Prince. Don't worry, you can talk about MMTLP. I won't tell your brother. Wink, wink. It won't work because apparently the PR department watches the show and then they complain to my brother. So, hi, Metamaterials PR department. Thank you for watching. I guess you're somewhere in the chat here, somewhere. Burgess said Houston getting his After Dark intro was the worst thing for Houston's East Coast viewers. I'm sorry, I'm a night owl, man. I should just go live in Europe, and I can do these shows at 10 o'clock at night over there, which would be, I don't know, what, noon here? No, it's like 3 in the afternoon here. Is Rodriguez Houston ever visit the Central Coast in California? Plenty of times. It's beautiful. I've got friends that live in Carmel, and I try to go visit them when I can. I think going to Hearst Castle is something everyone should do. It is just a cool building. I highly recommend it. Do that drive. Do that drive in a fancy sports car. Wind along, hopefully not too foggy a day. It's beautiful. I think everybody should do it. Dr. Sturgeon. I don't think AMC used APE to pay off Odeon. They just refinanced, saving $106 million on a new loan that is due 2027 instead of next year. Yeah, I think that's what they did, didn't they? Have you seen Aaron Brickman's moon cycle market collapse theory that Boss Blunt shared? It's pretty interesting. I have not. The moon goes on cycles. I know that much. How bad is the snow crab disappearance China trawlers? No. So, if you don't know, they canceled the snow crab season. I think the king crab season as well is being canceled in Alaska. So, all the crab fishermen, they can't go get crab. I was listening to a fisheries biologist talk about it in like Bristol Bay and everything. And he was saying that the water got warmer, which caused a whole bunch of crab hatchlings to survive better than they normally do, which meant there's a whole bunch of them. But when the water's warmer, they need to eat more because they burn more energy because they're cold-blooded creatures. And they just ate everything, and then there was no more food left, and they died. So they had a huge explosion of population. The water got warm. They required more food to sustain themselves. They ate all the food in existence, and then the populations just died because there's no more food left. And that's why the snow crab vanished. They had some gangbuster hauls 2 years ago, and now there's nothing left because they died. There's no food. Yeah, and it's the same type of thing as hitting different types of salmon. So like the Chinook and chum salmons that come out of Nome River and stuff in North Alaska, they're dying. Their populations are collapsing, but the sockeye that's coming into Bristol Bay from the lakes just north of Bristol Bay are exploding because they have so many more nutrients they can eat in the lakes where they hatch. And so their populations are going crazy. And apparently the shorebird numbers are down due to the temperature swings as well. So there aren't as many shorebirds to eat the little smelt that come out of there. So like one side of Alaska, their fish runs are collapsing, and then the other side are booming because things are warming. So it's not always equal for everybody. But it's going to be a big problem for Washington fisheries, especially because the crab fleet's based in Seattle mostly. They're all here. This is where they come get haul-outs done, fix their boats, find crew, whatnot. And if they have to shut down for an entire season, they may be forced to sell their boats. If they sell all their boats, who's going to buy them? No one. The only people who would buy a boat are fishermen, and the fishermen can't fish, so they're not going to buy any of these crab boats. So it sounds like the reps and senators for the Northwest states, Alaska and Washington especially, are going to be seeking bailouts for the fishermen because, them not being able to fish is probably $1 billion hit to the local economies. And when farmers have, floods or fires or whatever, the federal government bails out the farmers. So they may have to bail out a bunch of the fishermen, because if they let the fishing fleet collapse, then we can't feed our population with fish later when the population rebounds, because they'll move on to other jobs. They'll be working construction or get retrained to be a data input specialist. I don't know. And so they need to keep that skill available for when we do need fishing. Right, Monkey? Yeah. Oh, you're just such a sweet little dog. Yes, you are. You're just a sweetie. You're like a little sweet dog. And the camera hasn't frozen yet, Monkey. We're cool. You're still on cam. It's great. Okay. NickTube, Wario is voiced by the same guy that does Mario. Chris Pratt. RJ Lowe, do you have a big Revlon position? I only have Revlon calls, RJ. I got calls for January. That's all I have. Another Google coordinate of nothing. John B. A termite walks into a bar and says, "Hey, where's the bar, tender?" Okay. Oh. Okay. Man walks into a bar, gets a big headache. Two men walk into a bar. I just think the first one would have seen the second one. The second one would have seen the... I ruined that one. So, this guy and his giraffe, they go into a bar and they just start drinking. They're pounding them back. They're like high-fiving everyone. They're like, line them up. We're just pounding shots and getting drunk and hammered. And they're having a great time. They're singing karaoke. And they're like 40 shots and 50 beers into this thing. And at one point, the giraffe is and just falls down across the entire bar. Just all like 14 feet of the bar. And the guy gets up, puts his jacket on, starts to head for the door, and the bartender says, "Hey, you can't leave that lion here." And he goes, "That's not a lion, that's a giraffe," and walks out the door and leaves. Tell Joe to quit printing money. I don't think Joe's the one printing the money at this point. It's Bernanke, man. It's Bernanke printing the money. And he wins a Nobel Peace Prize for it, Nobel Economics Prize for it. Kyle Wallander. Dane Cook has literally been in every single business and has been respected in every single one. I haven't seen Dane Cook in anything in 20 years. So, I know he married his girlfriend, who's like 23, and they started dating when she was like 16 or something. I'm not too comfortable with that. Sharky Flimpy, would Houston invest in GME to have the squeeze potential? No. I'm invested in it because it's a squeeze potential. That's it. Nine Inch Nails is a pretty good band. Nine Inch Nails is a pretty good band. It's one of the 10. Nickelback is not a good band. They are not a good band. Nickelback is rock music for people who actually like country music. That's Nickelback. They are not a rock and roll band. They're just a very loud country band. $741 sucks. $311 sucks. Yeah. Incubus really sucks. I did not like them. I had a roommate in San Diego briefly. Well, technically a roommate. We lived like a youth hostel or like a place to live. She was obsessed with Incubus and played them all the time, and I really could not understand why. Dude, didn't seem to be a redeeming quality about any of their songs ever. I did not get it. And then like 2 years later, they became huge. Like she was really into them in 1999, and 2 years later, they were everywhere. And I still don't get it. Maroon 5, terrible. Daphne Houston, is it possible for short hedge funds to short a stock to zero if regular investors are buying and holding, not selling? If so, how's that possible? They can't. That's the problem. They need us to panic and to sell everything off and double the number of shares available, so the price just collapses. And the price collapses far enough, then no one buys in, and it's over. Done. But the fact that we haven't been selling off, they can't drive the price down to zero. They want to shake us loose, and normally they would shake us all loose, but we aren't selling. So that's that. We're done. We're at a stalemate essentially right now until they break. See, Houston, enjoy your vids. Always upbeat and enjoyable. Thanks for taking the time. Well, thank you for showing up at midnight on a Friday. Hang out on the internet. All 248 of you. I'm sure I could get like 1,000 viewers if I could do more daytime shows, but you know, I got shit to do, man. STD, shit to do. Andrew Zetzo just got here. Can we talk about MMTLP? What happened to it? We cannot talk about it. You guys can talk about it in the chat. I cannot talk about it. I promised I wouldn't. Therefore, I won't. So, there. Andrew's going to sleep. Thank you for the shirts, Andrew. Catch you on the flip side. Charles Martinet is the name of the guy that voices Mario and Wario. All right. A priest, a pastor, and a rabbit walk into a clinic to donate blood. Doctor says to the rabbit, what's your blood type? Probably typo, says the rabbit, replied with great sadness. I get it. Typo. Wait, did I just... I skipped past about 500 things. Oh, we caught up. Hey, we're caught up. Holy crap. That only happens on late nights and Fridays, do I seem to catch up. Because everyone else is doing cool things and like going to rock concerts and having a life. And I can manage to actually catch up because it's a small crowd on Friday nights. All right, so... dried, hardwood smoked, and seasoned cuts of pork and beef with fat attached heaven. All right. Cool. I'd eat that. Ian Rain, hi Houston. What about CERN, the possibility of opening up a parallel universe or states of being? Any truth, the possibility that CERN activities could have any grave implications? I don't personally believe in parallel universes. I've seen nothing to suggest they exist. Anytime someone has mathematics of it, there's usually some string theorist, and string theory is just a bunch of bullshit anyway. I don't buy into like the whole parallel universe, multiverse thing at all. I could be wrong about it, but I don't think I am. CERN's big issues are that if they break things down to the energy levels required to have like the primordial ooze of the Big Bang, when things were so hot that matter itself could not exist, only like subparticles of subparticles of subparticles could exist. Like quarks could not combine to create particles. It was too hot for them to even combine. So that's their goal, is to essentially smack something into itself so hard that the very nature of physics breaks down in the heat. I'm not sure what would come of that. I'm sure it would quickly cool and things would condense again, but it'd be weird. I read this funny article about CERN basically forcing us into the darkest timeline where, you know, everyone makes the worst decisions possible. So we like Trump gets elected, World War happens, famine, economic collapse. All this is happening because CERN, you know, in 2015 smacked two protons into each other, and just now we're in the darkest timeline. One of the darkest timelines about watch Community. All right. bizarre stuff is if ape is being sold into the market as many suspect, what means that means when ape does run, the company will have a less ability to dilute into a massive upward move. True, but I don't think they're selling into the market. There was specific language in the filing that said they would be seeking out buyers outside the market, do private deals, probably through a dark pool for a set price. And that is probably what they're certain to do. I don't know why anyone would want to buy at $10 when it's for sale for less than $2. But folks are like, oh, there's someone out there that's going to buy 450 million ape shares for $10 each. Okay, buddy. I would the fact that the price has been pushed down so far, to me says Adam Aaron must be waiting, or he sold it all already, and there we are. Frozen State Productions in space. Is it possible to have bouts with allergies? It seems it would be even more uncomfortable in zero gravity. I mean, you're still allergic to things in space, but you will probably be removed from many of the allergy-causing things. Like, you won't have cats, so it won't be like pet dander. You're not probably going to have, like, flowering or pollinating plants. So you don't have to worry about the pollens. You won't have grass, so there won't be grass seed to worry about or whatever. I mean, other than food allergies, you might have some allergies to some space foods up there, some dehydrated foods. But I don't see how else you would have to worry about that. I'm sure a runny nose in zero-G sucks. Because it's not going to run, it's not going to drip out your nose. It's going to be stuck up here the entire time in your head, just getting fuller and fuller and fuller, and you have no nasal drip whatsoever happening because there's no gravity. But I don't think people... I mean, they screen them, make sure there's no viruses whatsoever when they send them into space, because they basically go into quarantine before they go up to go to space. So as far as I know, no one's brought a cold virus or anything up into space. Maybe we should. Maybe we should give some cosmonauts and astronauts the cold and see what happens. See how they react in zero-G, sneezing their brains out with a nose that can't drain. I bet it would suck. The headaches must be brutal. Andrew said so you're out of MMTLP? No. I still have it. I just can't talk about it. The only Dane Cook I know... What was that? I missed it. It vanished. The only Dane Cook I know is of the comedian. Not going to bother investigating this. I don't know. Dane Cook with Garth Brooks right now? I don't know what's going on. Why are people talking about Dane Cook all of a sudden? Crypto Chris, come on, this administration has printed trillions and continues to print. Well, I mean, yeah, but it's not Biden who's printing it. It's the Federal Reserve, which is owned by all the banks. They're the ones who are printing. There's no policy being set by the Biden administration as far as what the Federal Reserve is doing. I mean, all those guys were appointed by Trump. The deficit shrank in half, though. The deficit went from almost $3 trillion to $1.5 trillion. So we shrunk the deficit. That's happening. I'm sure it's going to go explode right over again when the economy crashes, though. And Spencer's Sad Sweater, Incubus is my favorite band. They're ethereal. They're terrible. They're so bad. I love you, Spencer's Sad Sweater, but I really cannot listen to Incubus at all. Ugh. They do not do it for me. I don't get the appeal at all. I skipped a lot of chat, didn't realize it? What? How did I skip over the chat? I just went through it. I gotta scroll back up because I went through Google coordinates, people. No, I didn't. I went through all this. Just you guys were having conversations with each other and then naming bands and numbers in them, and then 9 out of 10 of them sucked. Yeah. All right. Where? If you're all caught up, maybe it's time for a Houston rant. You gotta give something to rant about. I don't know. I got 18 minutes left, and I am feeling quite sleepy so far. So I'm normally night owling like crazy, but I might need a cola in me or something. He's gonna poke Houston with a sharp stick. Daphne, after MOAS, which island adventure are we in for, and what activities will be planned? I would love to actually do a sailing trip. Nice, big, luxurious sailboat, and hit a lot of those remote islands out in the middle of nowhere that either people don't live on or not very people are on. Go to Pitcairn Island, see all the weirdos from the Mutiny and the Bounty. Go to weird little islands, little pirate islands in the middle of the Pacific, and just kind of, be there. Be like, oh, man, this is what this is like. See weird little tortoises and stuff. That'd be kind of fun. That'd be an adventure I'd be into. Bzz. Houston, post MOAS, is it safer to have my money in a bank, insured FDIC, or in a credit union? If I make $10 million and shove it into a credit union, is it safe? Credit unions they don't have FDIC. It's something. It's like SDIC or something like that. They have a similar insurance system. When you have a whole bunch of wealth, and the wealth is more than the insurance, which I think is $250,000 per account, they will do private wealth management sections of banks, private banking groups. They will set up so that you'll have like 30 accounts that will at most have $250,000 in them, and they will all connect to one other bank account. So each single one is insured for the full amount, and that's what they do. So when you have a lot of money, just talk to the private banking person at your credit union or your bank, and they'll set up a system like that for you. But most people don't have $10 million in cash. They put most of it into something that will make them money over time and then live off of whatever those earnings are of that $10 million. Okay, Bo, is alkaline water better than tap water? No. The whole alkaline thing is silly. You've got a range of pH that's about that big, and anything beyond that will pretty much hurt you or kill you. You try to drink alkaline water, and it goes into an incredibly acidic environment known as the hydrochloric acid in your stomach, and completely is made acidic again. That's it. The whole alkaline, eating alkaline foods, drinking alkaline water means nothing, because everything goes into your body and immediately hits the muriatic acid, the hydrochloric acid inside your stomach. And your body will regulate as to what the pH balance is after that. So, no, alkaline water means nothing at all to anyone. They can market it, talk about it, say, oh, if you have alkaline stuff, you won't ever get cancer. That's not true. Your window of tolerance of pH is so narrow that if your body flips one way or the other, you're dead. So, no, that's not real. French Polynesia, Miss Missy. I'll go to French Polynesia. After MOAS, I'm buying a parallel universe. I'll sell you a parallel universe, Dr. Spurgeon, Sturgeon Surgeon. I'll sell you one now. I'll put your parallel universe up here for sale. One parallel universe. You can buy Virgilio's parallel universe. He'll sell you one. Steve Gahagan, Houston, since Voyager found so many more particles outside the solar system than expected, do you think there's more outside the galaxy than we expect? Oh, a ton more. And large part of that has to do with the active galactic nuclei in quasars, BLAC objects, radio galaxies. The old galaxies, you look back 7 billion or more years ago, when galaxies were first forming and they're colliding with each other, and their black holes were just gobbling up huge amounts of mass. The poles, the radiation or the magnetic poles inside these giant black holes blasted out so much gas and dust out of the center of these galaxies that a lot of interstellar space is full of this hydrogen and helium that would have made up the gas inside of these galaxies. And now it's floating outside of them in large clouds. And I think that's where a lot of the dark matter that we assume exists is actually normal matter that is just so cold that we don't see it. So it's not giving off any light whatsoever, because electron levels aren't changing, because it's just dark and cold. And so we assume it's some exotic matter that is different than everything else, and I think it's just cold. And that's that. NCUA. Thank you, Miss Missy. I knew it was in something or other. John B. Is there helium-3 on the moon? Yes. If so, can we mine with robots? I'm sure robots will be involved, but you'll need people up there to make sure the robots are doing their thing and are repaired and everything gets shipped and stuff like that. There'll be people living on the moon making sure that all that stuff works. J. King, Houston, New York City. Thanks for the late night. You can add 5 to the chat. There are 6 of us here casting you on the big screen. All right. It's a Friday night or Friday morning New York City after dark party. Woo! Thank you, New York City. Hope all your neighbors are peering through the windows of their binoculars, watching you watch me. Hello, neighbors. Bzzz. Are there any circumstances where they would liquidate funds? Lots of circumstances. Funds get liquidated when they can't pay back. And they just go, you know what? Let's take what we can out of them. Kong Fuzi. I have a credit union. It's pretty cool. I went to a shared network branch today to do a deposit. It's like having an account in 20 different credit unions. Yeah. You apparently can go like, a lot of people I know have BECU, and there's no BECU in my community, so they go to like the Kitsap Credit Union, and they can do their deposits there. Guitar stuff. Everyone says we're in the darkest timeline, but we're probably in the lame timeline where Troy and Berta get married. Love myself a community reference. Crypto Chris. Wow, Joe and his administration just can't do any wrong. I mean, what do you expect them to do? What is Joe Biden supposed to be doing right now? What can he do other than stave off collapse by saying that there's no recession? La 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 la. I just gotta keep saying that for 2 more weeks. There's no recession. There's no recession. There's no recession. That's pretty much all he can do. I mean, they passed the Fight Inflation Act. They're going to get semiconductors built here in the United States, which will put a big ease on supply chain for electronics. But I mean, the economy is going to collapse no matter what. There's not much anyone can do about anything when that, as far as that regard, is happening. And if we don't tackle inflation, then we're going to have massive inflation while the economy is collapsing, which is really bad for everyone. That gets us in that stagflation land. And how do you climb out of that? Well, it took freaking 30 years to climb out of it the last time it happened. So, what is he supposed to do? What's he supposed to do, Crypto Chris? You tell me what he's supposed to do. He was given an economy where they printed 90% of all the cash ever printed was printed in like a 1-year period in 2020. And I understand why they did that. They did it to keep the economy from collapsing from the pandemic. but they never actually responded to the pandemic properly. So the pandemic still killed 1 million people and disabled another like 13 million and caused 3 million boomers to retire early, 3 million mothers to leave the workforce because they couldn't afford childcare. Millions of people stopped traveling to work, so commercial real estate was collapsing. Okay. We could have used that period of time to do fundamental changes to our system that would have long-term lasting consequences for the good. We could have just been like, you know what? National healthcare. You know what? Instead of bailing out Exxon, we could just buy all their stock for less than it would cost to bail them out. We'd have a national oil company. No more middlemen. The Americans can now benefit directly from their national lands, and we can kick out Saudi Arabia from owning, the largest refinery in the entire world in the United States. That for some reason we sold to them, and then they stopped producing oil to raise up prices. What else are they supposed to do, man? What are they supposed to do? What are they supposed to do? What they should do is Gary Gensler should go and just wipe the floor with market makers and short hedge funds. Immediately take away every single solitary little bit of power they have, where they're naked shorting treasuries or naked shorting securities. They're failing to deliver. They're swapping things around, playing hot potato with all these liabilities. Just say, you know what? Turn that switch off. You can't do that anymore. And then watch everything just grind to a halt. All these hedge funds go, and then we just start over. We go, okay, done. Well, let's do it right this time. That's the best thing they can do. But they aren't going to do that until things crash on their own. So we just sit here and we wait, man. We just wait. I'm not saying how to get out of it. I'm saying they caused it. They didn't cause it, though. It was caused by the mismanagement of a global pandemic. That's what caused it. And we were already heading into trouble before that because corporate debt had exploded. Absolutely just gone because corporations, rather than reinvesting into their companies or paying their dividends to their shareholders, were borrowing money and doing stock buybacks of billions of dollars per corporation to keep their stock price afloat and give their executives bonuses. And so 109% of corporate profits were being spent on stock buybacks, man. The economy was already doomed. It was going to crash anyway, but because COVID hit and it crashed faster than anyone ever expected because we just turned it off, we had to print $30 trillion or whatever it was. Now, I'm okay with printing money if it goes to directly benefit the people, but we printed money so it would directly benefit banks and hedge funds and large-scale investors. And that didn't directly benefit the people at all. They give us some chicken feed here and there. You may have got some extra money on your unemployment or gotten your one-time check of $1,200 or whatever. But what they should have done basically is they should have said, okay, if we're going to take this virus seriously, most people are going to stay home. We're going to pay you to stay home. And the few who are essential workers, might be National Guard or whatever, we're going to drop some food off people's houses, make sure they've got food to eat until we get this thing down low enough that we can just get rid of it. But when it comes to a global pandemic, and each country is for themselves or each state is for themselves, all it takes is one population center going, fuck this, let it rip. And then you get a whole bunch of variants out of it and it starts all over again. And we didn't have any cooperation internationally. Even in the freaking United States, we had no cooperation because some states like Florida were like, fuck you, party at spring break, yeah. And then they wiped out all their old people. And then, a bunch of healthcare workers died, or they were so overworked they quit. Now our healthcare system is collapsing. And, restaurant workers, restaurants shut down. And then when they opened back up, the workers weren't around anymore because they got new careers or jobs or started OnlyFans or whatever. Like, we fucked this up so bad. And now we're facing a giant supply chain crisis as a result of the pandemic, combined with a commercial real estate crisis as a result of the pandemic, now bleeding into a regular residential real estate crisis that was largely formed because everything else is in crisis. We've got an inflation crisis from the pandemic. And we've got, World War III happening in Russia that's resulting in like a third of all the food supply not being able to go to the country. So we're going to have, food prices are going to inflate even higher because there's no way to get food to people. All of Europe can't pay the energy bill. They've got no natural gas. They can't get any diesel because you need natural gas to refine diesel. And, they don't have enough natural gas to stay warm. They don't have natural gas. They don't have food. So Europe's going to have one shitty winter. What are you supposed to do? It's collapsing everywhere. It's not just the United States, Chris. It's collapsing everywhere. Europe's collapsing. Asia's collapsing. South America's collapsing. North America's. Everyone is collapsing. They're all crashing down. There's going to be tens of millions of homes all over the world in foreclosure. China's economy is going to just crater harder than anybody's because the whole full third of their economy is built upon real estate, and real estate ain't happening. What you gonna do, man? What you gonna do? There's nothing. There's not a single solitary policy issue you can use that can hold this thing off forever. The only saving grace the United States has is that the dollar is stronger than any other currency because people are flocking to the dollar to avoid their own local currencies, which aren't strong. So inflation in the U.S. is smaller than it is everywhere else as a result of that. I mean, they had like 40% inflation in Germany this last month. It's like 80% in Turkey. The pound is its weakest it's pretty much ever been. What are they going to do? It's got to let it all crash. That's what happens. And start over, man. Okay. Crypto Chris, our national debt has never been higher. You can say that about our national debt every single solitary day since George Bush came into office. There's only one modern president who shrank the national debt, and that was Bill Clinton. And the first thing George Bush did in 2001 was he gave everybody a $300 tax credit. And immediately we were in the red again, mounting a deficit, adding to the debt. Only one president in modern time has actually cut the debt, and that's Bill Clinton. Every other president has had a deficit since then and before then. But only under Democratic presidents has the deficit shrunk. So, you want to talk about fiscal responsibility, it's not going to be Republicans, Crypto Chris. They have never once led a fiscally conservative government. They'll talk about it, and then they'll just make the defense budget $1 trillion and cut taxes for all the rich people. I mean, Warren Buffett made $24 billion in profit between 2014 and 2018, and he paid an effective tax rate of 0.01%. That's paying 1/100th of a penny per dollar in taxes. How much you pay in taxes? I bet it was more than Warren Buffett paid. All right. Jim Ryan, Houston, I just Twitter messaged you a video of Adam Aaron at the movie night in Atlanta. I just happened upon it on Twitter. There's an 8-part video. Holy smokes. Each vid about 2 minutes. That's a lot of videos. Okay, I'll check it out. Guitar stuff, it's widely known that Garth Brooks made a grunge record in the 90s under a stage name, but I just learned that Mariah Carey did the same and possibly going to release it. I think Mariah Carey's been bouncing around on like news groups on the internet for a while now. I don't know if it's the mastered version, but I think hers has been out there for a while. She's talked about it recently. Ian Rain, Rain. When you think of a financial meltdown, do you hold any stock in civil unrest being a part of this collapse? And if so, on what level? I mean, there's always a level of civil unrest when the economy hits the shitter. I mean, think about Occupy Wall Street. That was civil unrest. Those people, protesting and marching and screaming and yelling. Most of them did a really bad job at it, but, that's the level of civil unrest. I don't think the United States will have the type of unrest you have in some other nations where, like, it becomes almost impossible to get fuel or food, and you get lots of unrest that way. Like what's happening in Lebanon right now, I don't think would happen in the U.S. when this thing happens. Lebanon's got people literally robbing banks for their own money because the banks won't give them their money. So they come in with a gun. They're like, hey, give me the money that says it's in my account. And the banks go, all right, here's your money. And then someone else comes the next day like, give me my money. It's not give me all your money. It's give me my money. What's happening in Sri Lanka? They've got no food. They've got no fuel. What are you going to do? How do you operate an economy with no mode of transportation and people can't eat? I don't think it'll be that bad in the U.S. because we grow so much food. We grow more food than we use, so we at least we can eat our food and starve the rest of the world. So I don't think it'll be as bad here. I think the UK is going to be looking at something that they haven't seen since Industrial Revolution. The Tories really screwed the pooch on that one, and it's going to be impossible to heat your home and get food, I think, at some point this winter for a lot of people in the UK. And it's going to be dark. And them leaving the EU and the common market will make it even worse because they won't be able to have like the help of other nations as well. They're on an island. They're on their own, man. People in Ireland are going to be like, cheers. But, okay. Gregor Mayer, good morning from Austria. May, thanks for sharing your thoughts. Hey, Gregor. I would love to go visit Austria again. Maybe this trip around I'll make it back over to Austria. I haven't been since I was playing baseball there. Right, it's past midnight. Let's see if there's like one more question I can answer here, and then Monkey Button I can fade away into the night. BW Brand, France, they were turning people away from fuel stations if they had more than 1/4 of a tank of fuel. Yeah, they were limiting them to like 40 liters or something like that of fuel because they just don't have it. And there's so many cars that run on diesel, and there's no diesel. So what are you going to do? We made a global supply chain, and then we destroyed it during COVID, and everything's ruined. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Monkey Butt, you had a great night, and you're napping, and you're so happy to be comfy and under a blanket. And everybody, I want to thank you all for joining. I want to thank Crypto Chris for poking the bear. You win my high-fivingness. I'll see you guys on Monday. I got to chop a whole bunch of wood. All that giant tree I had to stack, 2 trees I had to stack over the summer. And I got to chop it all up into firewood because one of you lovely viewers owns a chimney company and heard about me complaining about the cost of heating oil. And was like, hey, I'll bring over a wood fireplace insert and we'll put it into your fireplace. And I'm like, woohoo! So now I got a whole bunch of trees I got to cut up and get ready for the winter. So yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'll see you folks on Monday. I'm going to try and get Jamie from Trade Spotting in here and have her visit. Maybe we'll have Rocky come by as well. But it's probably a little too early for him. I bet he's been partying. Normally when he shows up this time of night, he hasn't gone to bed yet. But I want Jamie to come by and say hi to everybody and have a good time. Until then, enjoy yourselves. Be nice. Have a great weekend. Toodaloo. 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 There we go.